Yo, what is going on, guys? Tuft here, and today I'm bringing you the second day for my Cluj-Napoca Pick'em Challenge predictions. Some interesting stuff happened today. A couple upsets I didn't really see happening, and some teams that got absolutely stomped and probably shouldn't have. So overall, I'd say of all the majors I've watched, this has probably been the most unpredictable group stage. And honestly, of the 8 matches that were played today, I picked 5 of them correctly. Probably the most obvious 5. Obviously, Fnatic, TSM, Virtus.pro, Envious, and Na'Vi are moving on to the winners bracket, along with NIP, along with Titan, and G2 and Luminosity. So the Luminosity versus Cloud9 game, I was pretty convinced that Cloud9 were going to tank that easily. Almost every other person I talked to or met with agreed that Cloud9 probably should have had that game. It was close though. It was 11-16 on Dust 2. Cloud9 just kind of had a weak couple halves and started off with a 5-0 deficit on T side. So, I mean, they came out with pretty flat, and I think that's ultimately what sort of killed them in the end. They weren't able to stage a comeback and take the map off of Luminosity. So, overall, I was kind of disappointed with Cloud9's performance. However, I am going to pick them to win over Vexed. However, this is a tough pick because Vexed obviously put up a pretty decent fight against Fnatic, and this was on, I believe, Cobblestone? Yeah, so Fnatic and Vexed played on Cobblestone, and I was honestly kind of impressed that a team such as Vexed was able to take 10 rounds off of Fnatic on Cobble. I thought this match was going to be an absolute stomp, and I was proven wrong because they actually managed to get 10 rounds, making it a much closer game than I had thought. So Vex versus Cloud9 ought to be a pretty good game. Hopefully Sean Gares and crew can get their shit together for tomorrow and bring home a win for North America. For Mouse Sports versus Flipside, this is a pretty 50-50 match. Honestly, I thought Mouse Sports was going to take a pretty easy win over G2, but instead they kind of got stomped. Obviously the score on that one, not quite what we thought it was going to be, 16-8. But then again, I mean, Inferno's kind of, I'd say, one of the more unbalanced maps that's still in the competitive pool. But, I mean, that aside, I still think that Mouse Sports are the better team, and so I'm going to go with them for my pick for the second group in the losers bracket. Let's see. Mouse Sports lost to G2. I already talked about that. Virtus.pro taking a pretty close game over Liquid. Honestly, I thought Liquid might actually get the comeback for a little bit. They were looking good. Another game that got played on Cobble. 5 of these games out of the 8 got played on Cobble, so kind of interesting there. Obviously, favorite map. Hopefully the entire team or the entire tournament isn't played solely on Cobble. I'd like to watch some other games other than just these teams playing on Cobble. The biggest surprise for me personally out of all of these was the NIP versus Titan game. I honestly thought NIP was going to stomp on Titan. Instead, we ended up with a pretty significant scoreline here. We have 16-13. So a close game, again, played on Cobble, seeming to be the map of the tournament so far. But honestly, I thought that NIP was going to come into this tournament with a lot to prove and wanting to sort of, get back into their game. And usually NIP doesn't underperform in the group stages. Or sorry, actually, no. I think NIP is sort of known to have a rough time with group stages, end up in the losers bracket, and then come back in the tournament. So I don't know what their plan is for this tournament, but hopefully we'll see them play some better CS:GO in the future. However, that makes it for a difficult decision for our third bracket in the losers. And between NIP and Team Liquid, it's hard for me to decide. I mean, like I said, NIP is kind of known for taking a loss early in the tournament, ending up in the losers bracket and fighting their way all the way back to the grand finals. Obviously, the last major, I don't think they did very well either. But Team Liquid, probably one of the better North American teams at the moment, I'd say almost better than Cloud9, actually played an extremely good game against Virtus.pro. Like I said, I already mentioned that. Pretty close game. Ended up going into overtime, and then Liquid just choked all 3 rounds in overtime. But anyways, they played a great game against Virtus.pro, one of the better teams in the scene at the moment. So I think that it's going to be difficult for NIP to beat them. And honestly, I would kind of like to see Team Liquid go further into this tournament. So I'm going to be placing my sticker on Team Liquid. Being a North American fanboy and sort of a patriot myself, I am going to support the North American teams, but bias aside, I do think that Team Liquid has a legitimate chance of beating NIP, especially if they get a good map, one that favors them a little bit more than NIP. Perhaps there's a chance that they're going to be able to stage that upset considering how well they played against VP. Also, if Cobblestone ends up being the map that these two teams play on, if you watch the way Team Liquid plays against Virtus Pro on Cobblestone and ties it, ends up going into overtime, versus the way NIP plays and ends up losing to Titan, a team they probably shouldn't have lost a map that early on in the tournament to. I mean, you weigh that either however you want it, and you end up with a pretty decent game. But I do see Liquid coming out on top in that situation. So these last 4 picks, pretty easy here. Fnatic, TSM, Virtus Pro, Team Envy. Not a lot of a difficult decision to make there. So that leaves us with Group 4. CLG and Team Dignitas. Neither team really played super great today. CLG actually just lost to Na'Vi, and a lot of the announcers were saying CLG is a team that either comes out flat and doesn't play well at all, or ends up coming out on fire and hits all their shots and plays a fantastic game, and you never really know which one you're going to play against. I just stole the words right out of some caster's mouth. I forget who it was who said that, but that's what they said, and I truthfully see that happening again. But on the other hand, Dignitas Dignitas kind of got stomped by Envy 16-6. That's a pretty terrible score line. I don't know what the score was at half or how many rounds they got on T side, but that does obviously play a huge difference in that game. So since both teams played on Cobble, and you can honestly say that CLG played a much better game today, I'm going to be going with CLG for this bracket, or this group as well. So for group stage day 2, I've got Cloud9, Mouse Sports, Liquid, CLG, Fnatic, TSM, Virtus Pro, and Envious moving on. We'll see how these teams do in the future. Hopefully tomorrow Cloud9 comes back ready to play. Liquid plays a good game against NIP. Mouse Sports flip side 50-50 match. Hopefully Mouse Sports brings their A game. CLG versus Dignitas, going to be another close game, but I feel like CLG's just got a little bit of an advantage. Fnatic versus Luminosity. Luminosity's come close to beating Fnatic in the past, especially at the last major. I remember it was on Dust 2 and it was a pretty close game. But hopefully Fnatic realizes that they've got a long tournament ahead of them, and they're probably going to make a run to the finals if I was to guess. So Fnatic's definitely not going to be going out of the tournament this early. I can't see that happening. TSM also has got a lot to prove. They've wanted to win this major. So I don't think they're going to be going out to a team as easy to beat for them probably as G2. Not that G2 is a bad team, but they're just not playing at the same caliber right now as TSM. Virtus Pro versus Titan. I mean, Titan playing a great game against NIP today. Don't think they're going to be strong enough to take out VP, though. Once they get that Virtus plow rolling, there's no stopping. I feel like VP is going to roll over Titan pretty easy. And then Envious versus Na'Vi. This is sort of a rivalry that's been happening for a while now. It's going to be interesting to see Kenny S and Guardian go at it. Hopefully playing on a map like Dust 2 where there's a lot of op potential, and hopefully those two teams have a great match. I honestly think that Envious is going to come out on top, only because I also think that Envious plans on making a deep run in this tournament, and they're not going to be going out on the second day, or at least taking a loss on the second day. So those are my group stage day 2 predictions, and I did some math. I have 7 points right now, and assuming that all 4 of these last 4 teams, all 4 of these games go through and win, that would put me at 15 points. Now, to get the gold Pick'em Challenge trophy, which obviously I'm going for, you need a total of 75. So assuming that I get all of these first 4 wrong, because these are all pretty close matches, and these last 4 right, or any combination of that, there's 71 total points left. So just doing the math for you guys, take the amount of points that you have now, predict how many are going to go through for you tomorrow, and then look at how many points are possible left to earn in the tournament. So even if I get like 50% of these wrong, I still have a decent shot at getting that gold trophy. So based on what you guys picked on day 1, I know a lot of people had these 3 groups switched as well, or similar predictions to mine. But let me guys know what you guys are predicting, or is it going to happen on stage 2. and what you guys picked for these three groups specifically. If you managed to predict those, then you are a genius. Also, let me know how many points you guys have and how many of these games you need to get tomorrow in order to get that golden trophy we all want so very much. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow with the Stage 3 predictions. Make sure you subscribe and comment what you guys think, and I will see you guys all later. Peace.